Here's why I'm voting for Zoran Mamdani in the Democratic primary to be the next mayor of New York City.
To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you.
Mic drop. No, but in all seriousness, I want to preface this video by saying that there's a lot of people out there that complain that they vote and vote, but nothing ever changes. Do you know why that is? Because those same people often tend to vote for the same old politicians. You can't keep trying to do things the same way and expect different results. And so that is why I do not understand why anyone would vote for Andrew Cuomo or Eric Adams in this mayoral election. We've already seen both of those politicians at play, and we've seen how they've been accused of many different things, whether that be from mishandling COVID cases to being, accused of and still people want to try the same thing again. You cannot teach an old dog new tricks. And now I know what people will say about Zoran, that he's too young, too inexperienced. But this might be unpopular to some people, but I've always held the belief that it's better to have no record or little record than to have a bad record. That's just my opinion. I'd rather have no record at all than a bad record. And so that's why when that moment happened at the most recent mayoral debate, of course the crowd burst into cheers, because why would you have somebody with such a record be your elected representative? Why would you have somebody that's carrying that much baggage and controversy to be the next mayor, to represent you? Have we not learned anything from the 2016 presidential elections? A lot of this kind of grassroots, word of mouth type of energy that his campaign is bringing often reminds me of the Bernie Sanders campaign, which I campaigned for in 2020. How you just have common people from all walks of life, all religions, races, sexual orientations, just basically coming together in a coalition of supporting their candidate because he believes in what they believe. And of course, I don't need to bore you with policy, though it should be about policy, but Mr. Mandani, of course, believes in rent control. And here at our Struggling in NYC channel, we believe in rent control, we believe in rent freezes, and we believe that rent-subsidized apartments should not continue to go up dramatically in rent per year or with the renovation of each lease, because then that defeats the whole purpose. We also believe that there should be more affordable housing opportunities in the city, and that, of course, public transportation should be more accessible. Now, no candidate is perfect, and that does not mean that I agree with every single one of his political stances, just like I did not agree with every single one of Bernie Sanders' stances. But the difference between being a cult follower and actually believing in a politician is understanding that we're going to have disagreements. But one thing that we're not going to have is pretending that people that have been in politics their whole lives are going to change, because as you get older, you get more stubborn. And I don't mean this in an ageist remark. I just mean this in a way that people get more set in their ways when they're older, as opposed to a younger candidate which is fresh and has more new ideas and would be more receptive to people's input than somebody that's been in politics their whole life and thinks they know everything. And so when you have a campaign that's literally using AI to write their proposals and policies versus somebody that's going out there and speaking to people, you know that there's a clear difference between them both. And another thing that I really appreciate and value about Mr. Mamdani's campaign is just how much change he truly wants to bring. He does not want to play it safe. He wants to basically change the city from within. And after everything that New York City has been through in the past 10 plus years, we desperately need major change, revolutionary change, if that's the correct word to say, because the way this city is going right now is not a sustainable way for us. We cannot have billionaires and millionaires continue to move into the city while middle class and poor people continue to get displaced. We cannot allow this city to basically be run by the 1% because that just does not make any sense at all. New York City is losing its culture, its soul, its affordability, and so much more things that I just cannot even begin to count. But when it starts to affect people that have been here for generations, and it starts to push people and families away just to make way for the elite and the super rich, we definitely have a problem. This is not a city that can just survive in one group of people that make a certain amount of income. The city is at its best when we're all together, and I don't mean that in a utopia kumbaya type of way. I genuinely mean that when we have a mix of middle, lower, and upper class people, this city is at its best. But now I feel like we're just gearing towards catering toward the rich and making this a city only for and by the rich. And that is not something that is sustainable for the long term, and definitely not something that Mr. Mamdani believes in. I am also staunchly against the current mayor, Eric Adams, which in my opinion has been one of the worst mayors in the history of New York City. But the point is that we just cannot have a second term with him in office, given how much his administration has been plagued with controversies, flip-flopping, and so much more. He is not a trustworthy politician, and his administration has been ineffective and has not brought about the change that this city desperately needs. So, if you are a Democrat, or if you are voting for the mayoral candidate in the primaries for New York City mayor, I please beg you to rank Zoran Mandani as your first choice candidate, and then your second and third choice candidates can be anyone you choose except Andrew Cuomo or Eric Adams. Please don't make the mistake of giving the same old tired politicians that have been in politics for decades and have just played it safe or not brought about the changes needed, which has allowed us to get to this place in the first place, and then expect something new. We need fresh blood, we need new faces, and we need new names. Yes, I know that Zoran Mandani is a new politician and he just got into elected office as recently as 2021. I know that he's only passed 3 bills. But again, why not trust a guy that's coming here with fresh new ideas, new leadership, bright new energy, as opposed to somebody that's just trying to save their political career through a comeback? Because I feel like a lot of public servants and politicians forget that they're not there to serve themselves. They're there to serve me and you. They're there to serve us, the people. That's why we elect them. But unfortunately, in America and in many countries, and in New York City, politics has just become about how we can serve our names, how we can save our careers. And of course, this is why we are in the mess that we're in, and this is why we have allowed the city to crumble and go to these depths of just high income inequality and pricing out native New Yorkers. But I just want to also say that no candidate is perfect. And of course, I'm not idolizing the man. I just simply believe in what he says and his policies. And I do believe that he will bring the change that this city needs. Now, I definitely would want to take a chance on the new guy as opposed to somebody that's already shown me his old tricks. And so if you don't believe me, that's your choice. But I will be voting for Zoran Mamdani. So if you're a registered Democrat, please know that early voting has begun already, and you can go and check your nearest polling site by going to the New York City Board of Elections website, which I will link in the description. You should also know that you have until, I believe, the 22nd to early vote, and then that election day is June 24th. The main race will be on November of this year, and I'll be following it because these issues affect our city, and this is a chance for us to actually bring change to New York that's been so desperately needed. Mr. Zoran Mandani's candidacy and basically campaign is truly one that I believe in. But anyways, that's all I had to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and leave me a comment down below because I love to hear from you guys. But until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.